The entire tragedy of Jackie Aprile Jr. plays out in 40 seconds. No gunfire, no shouting, just a chessboard, a little girl, and a man who has no idea what game he's actually playing. Within minutes of this scene ending, Jackie will be dead. And what David Chase smuggles into this brief moment? The most surgical character autopsy in the entire run of The Sopranos. Almost nobody catches all of it. Let me show you what they missed. To understand why this scene matters, you have to understand what Jackie Jr. was supposed to be.
When he was dying of cancer, he was praying his son would go to medical school.
His father, Jackie Aprile Sr., was acting boss of the DeMeo crime family, a respected man, and on his deathbed, dying of cancer, he extracted a promise from his lifelong friend, Tony Soprano. The promise was simple: keep my son out of the life.
I promised his old man I'd try to keep him out of this shit.
For a while, the system worked. Tony protected him. Ralph Cifaretto, who ended up dating his mother, vouched for him. The whole crew treated him like a prince, entirely on the strength of his father's name.
So Jackie, how's Rutgers?
Jackie Jr. went to Rutgers. He was supposed to become a doctor. He was supposed to live legitimately on the proceeds of his father's blood money. But Jackie wanted the life. He dropped out of college. He started running with Christopher's crew. And eventually, he made the worst decision of his short life. He helped rob Eugene Pontecorvo's poker game, a mob card game with made men at the table. The dealer, Sunshine, was killed in the panic. Ferdio Junta, a made man, took a bullet to the leg. From that moment, Jackie was a dead man walking. By the time we get to the chess scene, Jackie is 22 years old.
Probably shouldn't say. Mr. X then.
He's hiding out in the Boonton housing projects, calling himself Mr. X. He's already dead. He just doesn't know it yet. Jackie sits down across from a little girl named Lena.
My name is Lena.
She lives in the apartment with her father. She's maybe 9 years old.
Mr. X, can you play chess?
No.
She has just asked him if he can play chess. He told her he can't. She told him her daddy taught her. And as the camera settles in, Jackie makes his opening move. Watch the move he picks. He grabs a pawn, the smallest piece on the board, the most disposable, the piece that can only move forward, the piece that gets sacrificed to set up bigger plays.
Your pawn can only move 2 spaces on the first move.
And he tries to push it too far, past what the rules allow. Lena stops him. She corrects him. He pulls the pawn back. That single gesture is Jackie's entire mob career compressed into 3 seconds. He's been given every advantage, and what does he do with it? He picks up the most basic, most expendable piece on the board. He doesn't even know how it moves. He overreaches. He gets corrected, and the moment he's corrected, his confidence collapses. Here's the line you should never forget when you watch this scene back. Even the pawn, the simplest piece in chess, the piece that exists to die, is too complicated for Jackie Aprile Jr. to handle. Now let's talk about Lena. The writers didn't make her a child by accident. When Jackie sits down across from her, she immediately develops her knights.
Yeah, but the way she's developing her knights.
Knights move in L shapes. They jump over other pieces. They're the most complex piece a beginner has to learn, and this little girl plays them effortlessly. She's been doing this for years.
I win again.
When Jackie eventually flips the board in frustration, she says something almost casual. I win again. That single word, again, tells you everything. She wins. She always wins. And she still sat down to play with a man who'd never picked up a chess piece in his life. Think about who that mirrors. Think about who in the Sopranos universe shows up over and over to play the game with new guys, to teach them the moves, to take the L-shaped routes that don't make sense to outsiders. The seasoned mobster. The capo who's been running crews for 30 years. The Paulie, the Silvio, the junior in his prime. Lena is the entire institutional knowledge of the mafia distilled into a 9-year-old. And she's already dispatched Jackie at the only game that mattered. But here's the deeper layer almost everyone misses.
I can. My daddy taught me.
Before they even start playing, Lena tells Jackie how she learned. She says 3 words. My daddy taught me. Watch what those 3 words do. Jackie's daddy didn't get the chance. Jackie Sr. died of cancer when his son was barely out of his teens. 20 years old, give or take. Too late for the lessons. Jackie Jr. never learned which pieces matter. He never learned that the kings stay the king and the pawns get capped quick. The little girl in the Boonton projects has more institutional knowledge about survival than the heir to a New Jersey crime family. That's the joke. That's also the tragedy.
And they shot him. 22 years old.
The future of the Aprile name is being checkmated by a child who had a better father. and then her father walks into the frame. He looks at the board for maybe 2 seconds, casual, almost amused.
Yo, I think you're done for.
We just started.
And then he says one short sentence that hits Jackie like a truck. I think you're done for. Jackie protests. We just started. And the father shrugs and says, yeah, but the way she's developing her nights. This is Tony Soprano's parenting philosophy in miniature. Show up late, pass judgment, offer no real help, then disappear. Throughout the entire series,
You ought to take a few lessons from Jackie Aprile.
Tony plays father figure to Jackie Jr., but it's a performance. He intervenes only when Jackie's behavior reflects badly on him.
I promised you that. Don't make this hard on me.
He gives advice that sounds more like a warning than instruction. And when Jackie finally crosses the line, Tony washes his hands and lets Ralph make the call. The father in this scene does the same thing. He delivers the verdict, you're done, without doing any of the work to prevent it. And then, almost as an afterthought, he says one more thing.
I see you should have played that out. That's the only way you're going to learn.
See, you should have played that out. That's the only way you're going to learn. It's good advice. It's the only good advice Jackie hears in the entire scene. He ignores it. He flips the chessboard. He walks out the door. Within minutes, he is dead. But here's the layer that elevates this from clever writing to genius writing. The actor playing Lena's father is Michael K. Williams. The same Michael K. Williams who, just 1 year later, would walk on to another HBO drama and become Omar Little, The Wire, a show whose entire central metaphor, established in season 1, was that the streets are a chessboard. The pawns get capped quick, the king stay the king. You come at the king, you best not miss. The Sopranos and The Wire never crossed over. Both shows lived on HBO, ran in overlapping years, and never officially acknowledged each other on screen. But for one scene, in a tiny Boonton apartment, Michael K. Williams stands over a chessboard and pronounces a death sentence on a man who refuses to learn the game. And 1 year later, on his own show, he becomes the living embodiment of that exact metaphor. Whether David Chase planned the casting, or it's a beautiful accident of HBO's talent pool, the resonance is real. Two of the greatest television shows ever made are using the same image to say the same thing about the same kind of man. Now let's talk about how Jackie actually dies. He walks out of the apartment. Quiet street, snow on the ground, and out of nowhere, Vito appears with a gun. Except the gun looks ridiculous. It's tiny, almost a toy. Forums have mocked it for over 20 years. Bad prop, rushed scene, embarrassing. Some viewers will point out that small caliber pistols, 22s, 380s, were the historical weapon of choice for mob hitmen because the bullets don't exit the skull. They bounce around inside and do maximum damage with minimum noise. All of that is accurate, and there's another layer underneath it. The gun is small because Jackie is small. That's the visual joke. That's the final humiliation. The boss's son, the heir to a crime family, the kid who flipped a chessboard rather than learn how a pawn moves. He doesn't even rate a real-looking weapon. He gets erased with what looks like a squirt gun. The body falls onto fake-looking, almost cartoonish snow. The scene refuses to grant him any dignity. One last detail.
Jackie, he was doing a drug deal with some black dudes, and they shot him.
Tony will pass along the cover story that Jackie was killed by drug dealers in the Boonton projects. His own son, AJ, parroting the official version, will tell Meadow that black dudes shot him during a drug deal. Now think about what we just watched in that apartment. A black father, a black daughter, hiding Jackie from the only people in this whole story who actually want him dead. His own crew. Trying to teach him a game that might have kept him alive if he'd had the patience to learn it. The official lie says black drug dealers killed Jackie Aprile Jr. The truth is, the only black people anywhere near Jackie were the ones trying to save him. 40 seconds. A chessboard. A little girl. 3 lines of dialogue and a board flip. That's all David Chase needed to bury Jackie Aprile Jr. before Vito ever pulled the trigger. Jackie was given a father's name and a Rutgers acceptance letter, and a city full of made men who would have protected him for the rest of his natural life. He was given Tony Soprano as a sworn protector on his father's deathbed, and he picked up a pawn, pushed it past where the rules allowed, got corrected by a child, flipped the board, walked outside, took a bullet to the back of the head. That's the whole tragedy in one sentence. He never knew he was the pawn. So here's the lesson Jackie never learned. The board is always changing. The pieces are always changing. Either you learn the new moves, or you get checkmated by a 9-year-old. Change is the law of life, on the chessboard and off it. Don't be Jackie. Don't flip the board. Learn the game. Now I want to hear from you. What's the scene in The Sopranos you still think people don't fully appreciate? The one you keep rewinding? The one you defend in arguments? Drop it in the comments. I'm reading every single one, and the best ones might end up as the next breakdown on this channel. And if you want the next breakdown, you know what to do. Subscribe.